So, you failed your CPA exam. You studied super hard. You did everything that you could possibly do that was in your power to do at that point in time. You did it all, but you failed. You're not sure why you failed. Maybe you're in denial, saying, no, I really know I hit this area. And I've been there. I just didn't understand why I failed. It didn't make sense to me. Up until the next year I wrote it, it did not make sense to me. And I wasn't even sure. The second time, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to write it. I was like, this is absolutely dreadful. So I'm going to save you some time. Here's what you have to do. You have to realize that there was things out of your control. Maybe you didn't have enough time to study. Maybe you couldn't retain the information, and maybe you just weren't ready. Or you were ready, but your anxiety kicked in and you just couldn't move and you blanked out. It happens. This is what I did. This is really what changed things. One, I did weird things like chewing on gum while I'm reading certain part of while I'm studying one part of the exam. So for tax, it was chewing gum. For managerial, it was eating cookies. I literally tried to hack my body in every way possible so I could pass this exam. And then, the smell. So, your strongest senses are your smell, your sight, your taste. Those are all really strong senses. I tried to associate each one of those senses with a type of section from the exam. So I did that. And I did pass. But I realized the first year where I made the mistake was actually I was scared. And usually when I'm scared, I try to fool myself into thinking I'm excited. But I was scared. And I didn't manage my time properly. And where I was trying to hit C's, I shouldn't have. And where I was trying to hit, I tried to hit C's everywhere. I tried to hit CDs everywhere. I was trying to do the best that I possibly could, and I mismanaged my time. The other thing is you have to spoon feed. So first thing, manage your time properly to spoon feed the markers. They will not give you marks unless you spoon feed it to them. So what really helped me with spoon feeding the markers was my templates. So they could see exactly how I was thinking. And the way that you have to think is the CPA way. I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. I don't like to be boxed in. But you have to understand this is what they're looking for, and this is all they're looking for. So that was my second tip, is make sure you spoon feed the marker. And 3, relax. Calm down. Because our fight and flight mechanism kick in, our anxiety kicks in, and our stress levels at a record high. And you have to understand, and this is what made it easier for me, is you have to understand all your advantages. You worked as hard as you could. You did everything within your power. And if you didn't do that, forget the rest of the advice. Make sure you do this one. So things that I did for that part are I made affirmations on my phone. I'm like, look, San, you have to work hard. You failed. You don't want to fail ever again. Everyone knows you're about to write the exam. You need to do the best that you possibly can. So what I did was I created a stressful environment from the get-go, where I could not slack at all, where I could not procrastinate, where I did not allow myself to falter, because I did not want to do this exam ever again in my life. I wasted my vacation time. I wasted my peace of mind. I wasted a full year in terms of my career trying to get the CPA designation. And that really, really hindered my ability to progress in my career. So I looked at all those factors. I made a voice note. Every morning I woke up and I listened to that voice note. And I made myself realize I had to do it. So I listened to a video the other day. It said it's all about perception. where there's a plaque on the floor, wooden plank, and you have to cross it. If you cross the wooden plank on the ground, it's easy. Now, if you raise it 10 stories up, all of a sudden that is a lot harder. Why? Because of your perception. Because now the stress of failing is greater than the stress of studying. And as soon as you make that happen, you're going to be a lot more successful. So honestly, if you failed, it's fine. A lot of people fail. And you know what? Writing it a second time, you have a huge advantage because when you studied the year before, some of that is going to be retained knowledge. And if you study really hard the first time, the second time you're studying, it's almost a breeze. Like, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, I remember this. But you have to make sure you actually remember. So test your active memory. Don't just say, oh yeah, I remember this. What I did was one page, I made my notes. The second page, I tested those notes. So I actually got questions and I made all those questions. It wasn't a case situation, but I made all those questions to make sure I knew exactly what I was talking about when it came to taxes, when it came to audit, when it came to finance. Make sure you know your stuff. And make sure if you really need to utilize that the handbook that they provide you. There's so much knowledge in there. If you search up things like audit, right? There's certain parts of the handbook that actually have what you need to test in there. Imagine if you could search that during the exam. It probably takes all of 2 minutes. So study smart, not hard, but work your absolute hardest. Do the best that you can do. All right, that's all I have for today. To those who failed, very sorry, but there's always they thankfully they have these exams twice a year now, so you can just write the exam again. You didn't lose anything. If anything, you got that experience, and now with that experience, you can pass. So you're a much more qualified person to pass the second time around because you know your information. The pass rate the second time around, I think it might be 80%. So it's higher the second time around. People who write the exam the second time, they do better. Do better. Get it.